Hey everyone, Val here. Today we'll be tackling the Siegfried raid. This is one of the 3 new raids introduced with Techno Magic Gear in Chapter 10, and it is arguably the easiest of the 3. The mechanics are fairly straightforward. You don't require too much investment except for in maybe your priest and your DPS, but everyone else doesn't need too much investment to clear. And the mechanics themselves aren't too complicated to understand, so let's jump right into things. The first main mechanic of Siegfried is Divine Power. So whenever Siegfried dies for the first 2 times, he will be revived with max HP. He will also gain increased attack, and his auto attacks will start hitting more enemies. So before he dies first time, when you first start fighting him, his auto attacks will only hit your front line. When he dies for the first time, his auto attacks will start hitting your midline heroes. And finally, when you kill him for the final time, his auto attacks will hit your backline, essentially your whole team. So, with this in mind, you want to make sure that all your heroes can heal through the damage and tank the damage fairly easily. So, I'll talk to you about how we can do that in a bit. The next mechanic of Siegfried is his mana bar. Whenever he attacks, he will recover mana. However, if you block his attack, he will reduce his mana. His mana will increase his auto attack damage if it's higher, so it's good to have some mana drain heroes, as well as making sure your heroes have block so he doesn't gain too much mana. Most of the time you won't really notice this because his block or his mana should be quite low, especially if you do have a reasonable amount of block and you run the right heroes. We also have Siegfried's passive, Divine Rampage, where he's not affected by defense or attack speed decreases, and also he increases his own block chance by a significant amount. Especially at higher stages, this block chance will mean you're not going to be doing any damage, so you want to have heroes that can reduce it, such as Nikki or Taylor. Additionally, when his mana is full, he will increase his defense penetration by a large amount, so this is why you want to make sure you keep his mana bar low. The next mechanic is Divine Strike. This is the Knockdown skill. It also reduces your hero's defense permanently once it's used, so you want to make sure you do have enough defense that this skill doesn't reduce too much of it, or a large proportion of it. And this increases as the stages rise, so at stage 1 for example, it only reduces it by 2000, but obviously it'll increase at higher stages, so make sure you do have enough PDEF on your heroes. The final mechanic is his Divine Storm of Blades. He will summon swords to hit your team 20 times, and each of these will recover your hero's mana. If your mana is full at the end of this cast, your hero will be sealed, meaning they can't use any skills. However, you will still be able to auto attack, so do keep in mind that auto attack heroes are good here. Afterwards, he will also be knocked down and take increased damage for the duration, so you want to make sure that if you can, try not to have too much mana gain on your heroes, or have heroes that spam skills quite often so their mana is constantly not full. As for hero recommendations, there are a few that I can name right now. So Taylor is definitely a very important hero, especially if you aren't running a hero like Hilda as your DPS, because she reduces block. She also gives attack reduction to him, as well as quite a large amount of defense, which is very useful. The next one is Raquina. She also reduces block chance, which is very useful if you don't have Taylor S1 up all the time. She also has attack reduction, and she's very low investment, so you don't need to get her unique weapon or UT to make her work effectively. And next up is Evan. Evan does require a bit of investment because his unique weapon will scale with the P-Tuff that he gives, but whenever he uses a skill, it will give your whole team P-Tuff, which is very important for this fight. His S2 also is a heal over time field, so that really helps during the final phase when he starts auto-attacking all your heroes, and he also does have an attack reduction, which is very useful. And the last hero I can recommend is Kayn. Yes, Kayn has a use in PvE again. His S3 gives a lot of defense and also CC immunity against the Knockdown skill, so it's very useful to have. He also has a bit of healing in his kit, so it's not the worst thing to have him in. And yeah, he can fill that mage slot if you don't have someone like Lorraine or Zera that might do a somewhat better job, but I do think Kayn does a very good job at what he should be doing. So I'll be covering what happened in the Siegfried fight. I'll just be talking about, what happens, some of the mechanics, and just explaining, the process of things. So Siegfried, obviously, I do think is the easiest of the three, just because, unlike Galgora, you need more than one DPS, but most people won't really have that. So this is definitely the easiest one, and also can be done with very budget supports. There's the Knockdown. The Knockdown isn't too impactful, I feel. Doesn't do too much damage. Here's the Storm of Swords. Each sword will give your heroes mana, and if you are at full mana when he finishes casting, you will get sealed, just like Hilda, Raquina, and May did, which is you can't use skills. However, unlike Galgoria Raid, you will continue to auto-attack, so you will still be doing damage. This is also kind of why auto-attack heroes do have a bit more of an advantage for this fight. Please also note that when you are sealed, your soul weapon will not gain charge, so just be careful with that. He'll continue to cleave us. All his auto attacks cleave, so you have to make sure you keep your heroes healed, especially your frontline at the beginning. Here comes the Storm of Swords once more. Let's see, Hilda shouldn't get sealed, maybe? Okay, yeah, Hilda didn't get sealed this time, it was only May. Once he finishes casting that skill, he'll be knocked down, and we're going into the second phase. So whenever he is about to die for the first 2 times, he will revive, and his attack range will also increase. It doesn't really show it here because I don't have any really far in mid-range heroes, but he will start to hit mid-range heroes such as Evan if you have him. He also gains a boost in attack, so he will be doing more damage. So you want to make sure you are healing through this, as well as trying to keep his mana down. Here's the Storm of Swords once again. Let's see who gets sealed. Yep, so as I was saying before, after he finishes casting that, he'll get knocked down, and he will take more damage. So this is basically a big DPS window. You want to be doing as much damage as you can. Just continue to block. There's the knockdown again. Also remember to keep his mana bar down. This is quite easy to do, especially with a Raquina. And also, blocking any of his attacks will also reduce his mana, which is fairly easy if you have enough block, so shouldn't be too much of an issue. Storm of Swords again. Let's see if it's sealed. Ooh, okay, everyone except Epis on this side. Kayn's going to keep healing us, and so is May and Annette. And we're into the final phase. So now his auto attacks will hit all your heroes. You can see my backline is taking quite a heavy damage. May's dropping to nearly half HP. This is where your healing really gets tested. You want to be able to make sure you have good heal over time to keep your heroes healed through all the attacks, and make sure that you're blocking. As you can see, my heroes are blocking in the backline. You want to make sure they are, so you don't take big bits of damage. Storm again. Sealed. You can see this. The Storm of Swords now does quite a bit of damage. May took quite a lot. Should still be fine. Build the soul weapon again. Kayn provides a lot for this fight because he gives a lot of defense with his S3. So we're not taking a lot of damage. Attack reduction is also very good, that's why Raquina's very good, Taylor's very good. The Mech T2 perk is also good here. Storm of Swords again. He should be going down fairly soon. Ooh, everyone got sealed this time. It's a good thing Hilda just auto attacks. And he should be going down... Oh, not yet. There we go. So yeah, that is basically the Sig clear. Fairly straightforward if you ask me. So now I'll be just covering the heroes that we ran for the stage 3 clear. At this point of the game, if you are tackling this level of raid, I am expecting you to have, you know, some investment into your DPS, you know, high star unique weapon, maybe their soul weapon even. Vespa is pretty generous with giving out soul weapon tickets and stuff as well, so it's not out of the ordinary for you to have high level decent level investment, not high level, decent level investment into your hero. So I was running Hilda, half Manticore gear, just because I am saying Manticore gear is still very good. I'm not saying it's completely irrelevant with Technomagic gear. It is definitely still something you should work towards, because Technomagic gear is a very long process. So yep, that's our Hilda. All the other heroes are no unique weapon, basically budget. So the main stats you should be aiming for when you're looking on stat sheet are P-Def, P-Block, and P-Tough. Obviously with no unique weapon, you only have access to one rune slot, so makes it a little harder, but if you can get a class unique weapon, then that makes it even easier for you. Raquina. Raquina's very good here. You can ignore the mixed gear because I just don't have enough P-Block Dark Legion, so I just tossed on some hero protection. It doesn't really change much. So yeah, P-Block again, very important. Raquina's a very good hero here, highly recommend. I ran May just so I can squeeze in a little more DPS because Hilda actually kind of struggles with DPS here. But you kind of get the idea here. Bracelets on everyone is very important. If you are running one priest, the priest that I would like to recommend is Evan with a unique weapon, because Evan with his unique weapon gives your team P-Tough. P-Tough is very good here. So remember, P-Block, P-Def, P-Tough, Kane. Now obviously you do get Kane's unique weapon and soul weapon for free, so if you want to use that, you obviously can. But just for this, I was just showing with no unique weapon. Yep, P-Def, P-Block, P-Tough. I know it's the stats aren't very high, but when you do get to higher stages, you will need, like, at the very least 1k P-Block, so that's very important. Taylor, very core character for this raid if you aren't using Hilda. If you are using Hilda, you can go with something like a Celica even, because Hilda obviously ignores blocks, so she doesn't need Taylor. But if you are running Taylor, you want UT1. I don't have UT1 because, you know, I haven't pulled for it yet, nor do I do Earth Trial, but UT1 changes her S1 to all block, so instead of just a 350, it reduces the block just to 0, so that's very useful. But yeah, Taylor is very much core for this raid if you are doing it. And yeah, that's basically I'd say a budget clear, but it's really only the DPS that has investment, but of course you kind of are expected to have your DPS invested. Obviously, you can use whatever, doesn't have to be Hilda, you can use any other DPS you want. Hilda's just the example that I was using. But again, as I said before, you will need Taylor with UT1 just so you can push out as much DPS as you can. And that just about covers everything for the Sieg raid. If you have any questions about it, just ask in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer. Hopefully I'll do Galgoria raid next. That one's a little bit more complicated, but not too much more. And hopefully I can get an Ascalon video out much later, once I understand everything about it, since that's the one I haven't really touched on. But yeah, thanks for watching guys, I'll see you next time.